So, good afternoon and welcome to the Stronger Than You Think podcast. My name is Sarah Verhoff, and I have my friend Vicki Stevenson on with me today. And this is super exciting. So, the video will be on YouTube. So, if you're watching the video, it's on YouTube. Otherwise, you're hearing us on any of the different platforms. And so, I met Vicki in Houston during a hurricane in July. Seems like the right time to meet somebody. And we connected immediately. And so I'm really excited for her to share with all of you and with me again what it is that she does. Vicki, will you share?
Oh, I would
What it
love
is
to,
you do?
Sarah. And I first just want to say thank you so much for having me. And you were right. We just connected the minute we met each other. Such a fun experience. And thank you for having me today. But as Sarah said, I'm Vicki Stevenson. I am a certified relationship coach. And what I do is I help women change the way they approach relationships, life, and really just matters of the heart.
So immediately I have a question for you because so Vicki and I were talking before we started recording, and something that she said that I think it's fun because I love things that are controversial. And Vicki's probably thinking, what the heck did I even say that was controversial? But something that you said, I totally agree with, but I don't know that everybody does. You said there's really no working on relationships, there's really only working on yourself. So
Yeah.
you coach people in relationships, and also really the relationship that maybe you coach them on mostly is on themselves. Could you explain a little bit maybe? And I don't know
Yeah.
either how it works in a relationship with someone else or with yourself.
Yes, yes. Oh, great question. And I'm so glad you brought that forward. Because honestly, this was one of my biggest aha moments. Really, I got to say, in my relationship and all of my relationships, because I was always looking over there. So if he would do this, then I could be who I want to be. If
Mhm.
they would just fill in the blank,
Mhm.
then I could be exactly how I want to be. If she would just, so you see what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
what I had missed is that it really, the only person that I can change is me.
Mm.
The only person that I have any control over. Now, I know we can say, well, that's not true. I make my kids, blah, blah, blah. And I'll say this, you can make them conform when they're in front of you, but we cannot, we don't have the power to control another human. So, to say that there really is no working on relationships, there is only working on you. So, what we do in my coaching program, I have something called the Rapid Relationship Reset. And is it okay if we just go quick? We're not going to spend years and years
Right?
and years sitting on the counselor sofa waiting on him or them to change. And I do mostly marriages, but here's the cool thing. People often come because they're struggling maybe in their marriage, but then guess what? We get that because they start to see, oh, I see how I'm contributing.
Mhm.
I see how I could change my approach. And then they begin to see, like, oh my goodness, things are quickly shifting. And
Right.
then they want to work on maybe, well, I haven't thought about applying these skills that we learn in coaching. I haven't thought about applying these to my children, to my mom, to my dad. And before you know it, it's just all the matters of their heart, the relationships in their life, just their approach to life. It is a completely different way of being and showing up in the world. So instead of this hustle and grind approach, and I'm just going to give a silly little example, but just let's just say you're trying to get out the door in the mornings and
Mhm.
you're barking out orders, and before you know it, you're sort of clashing with your hubby. your kids are mad, everybody's frustrated, and we get in the car and we've been in this hustle and grind approach to get out the door. And I was just sharing this the other day with my granddaughter, who is 8. And I was telling her, because this has been so important in my life, with a different approach, I'm still going to get out the door, but I'm
Mm.
not hustle and grinding. I'm just ebbing and flowing. Does that make sense? I
Yeah,
still am
totally.
getting out the door. And it's just a different way of approaching the way we do life. Almost like you're leaned back in your canoe. And I don't mean you don't hustle. It's like, I'm not saying you just lollygag. I'm not saying that at all. It's all about your thoughts while you're doing the thing.
Mm, awesome. Yeah, I love it. I love that it's a rapid, a
Yeah.
rapid reset. I think we're all,
Yes.
I mean, I guess I shouldn't say we're all, but like,
Yeah.
I think we prefer like a drive-through. Like,
Yeah.
like let's get going, I don't want to have to
Not
wait
way.
forever
Yeah.
to do this thing. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Something else you just shared with me too that I thought was really, really cool is that it sounds like you help clients to sort of hear themselves. So if perhaps they're not self-aware of what's going on and it's your fault and their fault and his fault and her fault,
Yes.
that just by the way that you do this, they're able to have the realization themselves.
Absolutely. And that is so powerful when we are able, I mean, we call it in the coaching world to have a breakthrough.
Mhm.
It's like we're driving along in a car. I'm going to use this analogy. And we bump up against something and we're in the car. So we can't see what in the world is stopping me from going forward. It's this boulder, but it's not
Mm,
as high as the car. So you can't see it. And you don't know why you're not able to pass on. Well, being a coach, I have the honor of helping women see what is it that is keeping them stuck like Chuck in a pickup truck. I mean, we want to move on
mhm,
and we want to thrive. And if they're anything like me, they were just going through life on autopilot, mainly just reacting.
mhm,
I really didn't have this vision for my relationships, for my life. I mean, God talks about that in his word when he says, without vision, the people perish. And another version, says, the people cast off restraint. So
mm,
we get really clear on what is it I even want? That's something, Sarah, I'm so embarrassed to say, I'd never really thought about.
mm,
Now, I could write pages on what I wanted him to do
mhm,
or what I wanted them to do. We have 2 sons, twin boys. And raising them, I mean, I had a laundry list of things that I wanted all these people in my life to do, but to think
yeah,
about how do I want to show up? Who
mhm,
do I want to be? Because I now know, I didn't know this then, I've got to be before I can have.
mm,
So
I like,
it's really, again, it just goes back to really getting to know the you inside of you that you just haven't met yet.
yeah, that's so beautiful. You have to be before you can have. I was listening to a podcast the other day. It totally cracked me up. This lady was talking about, I don't remember exactly what her term was, but in my brain, so I learned this term when I was in massage school. It's called beingness. And it's the
Mm,
being in the moment. So like if I'm giving a massage to somebody, I'm not thinking about, well, I have to cook dinner later and I have this kid who has to get here and I have to these bit like that's if that's what I am thinking of, I'm very distracted. And so the term beingness is that I am here with you right now. My hands are on you and my hands are thinking about you. My mind is thinking about you. My intention is with you. And so I love that you said you have to be before you do. And in this podcast, it was hilarious because she was talking to an expert, about just like being and all of these things. And she said, the question she asked, well, so what can I do? And I was like, it just like, I think we do that so often. Okay, so tell me what to do. It's like, okay, but literally we've just been talking about being and to get out of the doing way. So
Yes.
like that
Oh,
you said, we have to be before we can have, because that's the same sort of idea, the sitting with ourselves and knowing who we are and what is it that I actually want. And it's really fascinating because I don't know if you find this, I find this often. People don't often know. I mean, you said you didn't know and you had a laundry list for everybody else. Do
yes.
you find that in your work that if you say, what do you want? Maybe it's a house or a car or whatever, but like when you get down to no, like you, what is it that you want? Do you find that people don't know?
I have no idea. They're like, well, I've never really thought about it. And then I can't, we just keep digging and we keep, because it goes back to so often the women I coach are like I was. I had bought into the lie that it was my husband's job to make me happy.
Mm.
And I mean, it was my job to make him happy. It's just he needed to do a better job.
Right.
I was doing a really good job.
Right, of course.
And I just thought that. I mean, I just believed that. And so I really didn't think about who do I want to be in this world? Who do I want to be in my marriage? Who do
Mm.
I want to be in my relationships? I was thinking more about what they needed to do. And guess what? That left me powerless.
Yeah.
I have no power over what someone else does. And another big news flash to me was that my triggers are for me to manage. And
Mm.
I did not know that.
That's
So,
massive.
so anything that, would come up, I would be like, that just triggers me or sets me, that drives me nuts. So it's almost like that drives me nuts. So you need to change.
Right.
But the truth was, I need to manage my triggers.
Mm.
So it's not for other people to manage. So it's this getting to know myself, the me inside of me, the you inside of you. And if you're anything like me, I needed a coach to help me do that. If I knew how to do it, I would already have done it.
Right, yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it was, when I tell you, massive change for me to have this coach come alongside me and stand for me and help me see what in the world was keeping me stuck. We have a term in my coaching program, and it's being on other people's paper. So
Okay.
we want, it's like in math class, you have a paper, and let's say it's a timed class, time test, and you can't even finish your test because you're looking over on other people's paper. So
Mm.
keep up that, and now, that just that
Yeah.
in mind. So learning to get on my paper and worry about and think, not worry about, but think about the things that I actually have control over is
Yeah.
so empowering. So one of the things that there are 6 skills that I teach, lots of tools. And one of them is restoring respect back in our relationship with our husband. And part of that is um, getting on my paper where all my power lies, not
Mm.
trying to be his mother, not treating him like he's my son, like he doesn't know what to wear. Or are you really going to eat that? I thought you were trying to lose weight. Or you're really going to drink another Coke? Or do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mothering.
Yeah.
What
Absolutely.
we want is to be his lover, not his mother. And
And doesn't
not,
it make sense that, sorry, I'm gonna
no,
put that, my husband and I have actually been talking about that a lot lately, is that um that it sometimes you get in such the habit of mothering your children that you start to mother everyone around you, and you can't be you're not your child's lover. So it wouldn't make sense. So of course that's going to make the
Yeah,
relationship really confusing and weird if I'm mothering my spouse who is my lover. Like it doesn't work. Like it just gets weird. And then of course you're not going to be like attracted and want to do things with them that you wouldn't want to do with your children if you're treating them exactly the same way.
Sarah, that is so profound. I mean, that is so true. There's just, we lose that attraction over time when we continue to show up instead of that girl of fun and light that they fell in love with. We had a
Yeah.
life, we had things going on that was very attractive. We
Yeah.
were doing things that filled ourself up,
Mm.
things that we enjoyed doing. And then when we got together, we had stuff to talk about because I had a life and I was doing things that was I enjoyed and
Mhm.
I could share and bring to the relationship. And if you're anything like me, then we get married and I'm just so zeroed in on just, it's almost like I forgot about me as an individual. And that's what made me so attractive
Right.
to my
Yes.
man was continuing to do, I mean, he more than anything, and this is one of the things that absolutely blows women out of the water when they first come, because they're like, Vic, you don't know my man. That's not true for him. But our men deeply desire to be our hero,
Hmm.
deeply desire to be our hero.
Absolutely. Yeah.
More than anything, they want to know their wife is happy.
Hmm.
But they know that they're not capable of making, quote unquote, making her happy.
Hmm.
But when they know that you are happy, they feel successful. So if no matter what they do, we're not happy with it. And I see this so often, and this was definitely me. It's almost like I was afraid to compliment because
Mm.
one of the things we do is I encourage women, I invite women to give their spouses, the people in their life, their children, whoever, um, 3 gratitudes a day. And it can be something so simple. But I know one time I said to my husband, we've been married 38 years now, but when I was
That's awesome. Congratulations.
thank you. When I began learning these skills, we were right at 34 years. And I said to him, as I was learning the skill, I said, hubby, I just want you to know how much I appreciate that you take the garbage out every week. For 34 years, I've never had to worry about the garbage. And I just want you to know I feel so cherished. Well, first of all, he was just like, because at first they're like, what is she up to?
Right.
Because this is a
The
big change.
angle. Yeah.
Yeah. And women will say, but if I tell him thank you, he's going to think it's optional. And one woman said that to me, and I really started reflecting on my own life, and I see where I did that too. It's like, I
Mhm.
want him to think this is an option. Like that's his quote unquote job is to carry.
Okay.
And I'm just using carrying the garbage down. Your
Right.
husband might not, whoever's listening, your
He
husband,
grates cheese. He's the
yeah,
cheese grater. Like
that's
that's his
it.
job.
That's what I'm saying. There's something that the man does
Yeah.
that you reflect on it, you're like, wow, that that makes me feel so taken care of. I feel
Yeah.
so special. And then we voice it. And
Hmm.
sometimes you got to look hard because as we're training our brain, as we're doing what God says in his word, we're renewing our mind.
Yeah.
That's how we become transformed is through the word, renewing our mind. Um, so while we're practicing being who
Mm.
we are becoming, we are giving gratitudes and we're looking for the evidence. So we're training our brain to look for the gratitudes. That's just one of the many things we do. And then we put voice to it. I mean, you can text it. You don't have to say it in person if it's too awkward, because there's times that people are really just not in a good place and they can't even imagine saying face to face to their husband a
Right.
gratitude, but you can text it. I really appreciate that you take the children to school in the mornings. I'm just making up stuff, but anything. I mean, that might not be the case for whoever's listening, but you can find things that your spouse does that makes your life better,
Yeah.
easier.
And
Because
once you start looking, you find it, don't you, Vicki?
yes,
Like,
you do. And what you focus on, you will see.
yeah,
What
the way I say it is what you focus on, you find. Yeah.
you
Same
find.
thing.
That's
Yeah.
absolutely right. I've heard another, Lisa Turker says, you steer where you stare. And I
Mhm.
know
Yeah.
that that is so true with me these days in a car. I'm driving along and I see something and I'm looking, and then before I know it, I'm steering over there. We
Oh,
steer
yeah.
where we stare. So if I'm staring at all of his faults, guess what? That's all I'm going to see.
Oh, absolutely. I hear people say all the time, I was never in love with whoever.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so one of the things I encourage them to do is the same thing, is to be grateful and to show things. And it's funny because as you were saying that, I'd never thought of thanking someone means it's optional. I just thought about how, like, all the things that I normally do when someone thanks me, like I walk a little taller, I feel a little better. Thank you so much for making dinner, or thank you so much for, my children and my husband are so grateful always. Like,
Oh.
they're really amazing at thanking me, and it just makes it the task, it doesn't make it feel optional, it just makes it more rewarding.
Mm,
They show me gratitude, and so when you were saying show him gratitude, to me, I just thought, I know how it makes me feel. So of
yeah.
course, that would
Mm,
make them feel better, whether they react in the way that you think they will or not.
yes.
Just the act of showing gratitude. I know something that I've done too in the past, and I wonder if you've done this. When I pray, I often ask for things. And on occasion, I will just do a prayer of gratitude. And in the beginning, it's like anything else, right? You think of like three things. You're like, well, I know I'm grateful for three things. So I'll start with that. And then before you know it, there are so many things that you're grateful for that all of a sudden your soul is filled with this gratitude. And I believe
Mm,
that that can happen with humans too, if you can see just one little tiny thing and another little tiny thing. Plus, when you feel good, you do better things.
you
So
do.
you
Yes.
show up as a better human when you
Yeah.
feel appreciated and
Yeah.
loved.
And you can just absolutely change the tone in your home.
Absolutely.
Gratitude is it's kind of this double gift. It's a gift to the one you're giving it to, but it's also a gift to the giver,
Hmm.
because it's changing the way I see things.
Yeah.
And they, as they receive it, it's also a gift to them. So it's double duty.
Yeah.
Gratitude is double duty. And that is actually the skill that came the most natural to me. And so I gave a lot of gratitude as I was learning the other skills. Yeah, so help. It
Fantastic.
just changes the tone in your relationship.
So it's really fun that you said that, because I actually wrote down, I've been taking a couple of notes here, writing
Yes,
things down.
absolutely. I
And
do
I
that.
thought I wanted to ask you, and I feel like this is the answer, so I could be wrong, and let me know if I am. But I thought, if you had a tip to give to any of the listeners, what would your number one tip be?
Mm, wow. Huh. I've got so many, to pick one is really challenging, but can I just share a story that happened
Absolutely.
recently?
Yeah.
Okay, recently I was the keynote speaker at an event. It was a women's 3-day event in Nashville. And over the month before the conference, they had me come on, this organization had me come on and do just a little talk on taking really good care of yourself.
Uh-huh.
So replenishing your own spirit, not
Mhm.
looking to other people to do that. And so not looking to other people for your happiness. And so in there, we just got to talking about replenishing your spirit, showing respect to your spouse. And one of the things I said, it doesn't have to be like this, like these major things. It's just little bitty steps. Like,
Mhm.
for instance, when your husband comes home, you just smile, just smile at him. And if they're anything like mine, I did that. And then maybe like the third day in, my husband was like, what are you smiling at? I mean, what? And I was like, you. Okay. So you're just changing the tone. That's
Mhm.
all. That's all you did right there. When they come in, you just smile. That's it. Smile. And, you can say, hey, babe, or hey, whatever his name is, hey, Raj, whatever. But you just have a smile on your face.
Mhm.
Okay, so now fast forward a month and a half later, we're at the conference, and this girl comes up to me, and I didn't know these women, but anyway, she comes up to me and she said, I've got to share something with you. She said, I started, after our call, I thought, what is one thing that I can implement? Like today, that I can
Yeah.
go, because I just want to go try something different. Because we can't keep doing the same old thing and
Mhm.
expecting things to be different.
Right.
So all she did is started smiling at him when he came home. And then, she would say things like, look, kiddos, daddy's home. That's it. Just a smile. That's really all she knew at that point to do. And besides replenishing her own spirit. And she, like I said, came up at the conference and shared that. And she said, I want you to know, in a month and a half my of doing that, my husband said to me before I left to come to this conference, my husband said, can you believe our relationship? We are just in a great place. And shed tears. And she said, all from just smiling. So you asked for one tip, and I've got so many, but that is something that I know that I know that I know that we all can do. We all can just smile when he walks through the door and not hit him with these kids or I've had a terrible day, all that, but just smile. So we're changing the tone of our home. And
I
I
love it.
I see it over and over and over. It is so simple, but guess what, Sarah? It's the tiny little baby steps that change the way we experience our relationships.
Oh, absolutely. That is, and it's so cool because it's so simple, right? It's not, you don't have to go out and buy something. You don't have to go rearrange something. You just show interest and smile. Like that's it. Give a smile. And even if it's like forced in the beginning, like we could all smile.
Like, that's
We-
right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Because
and I'm sure you've had a phone call where you call somebody, how are you doing? And the first thing out of their mouth is like, "Rah, rah, rah, rah." You don't
yeah,
really want to talk to them. You don't want to make that phone call
yeah.
anymore.
Exactly.
And
That is
so,
so true, Sarah. That is
yeah,
so true. And we have to remember, and we work on all of this, all of this. But we have to remember we're doing this because we're changing ourselves.
yeah.
So when they don't respond immediately the way I want them to,
Mhm.
then that is not our measuring stick. Because
Right.
guess what? That is manipulation. That is
Right.
manipulation. I'm
Yeah.
smiling so you will be different.
Mhm.
No, I'm smiling because I'm changing me.
Good.
That makes sense.
Good.
So
Yeah.
when we're measuring our success by how they are showing up, that equals manipulation. I'm doing it to get.
That
That's
is that's
that's
so good because isn't wow
I know that's brain
it
explosion. It
it's
is.
so good because it's so true. When you teach your kids to say sorry and they're like sorry and it's like, okay, well that didn't help anybody, but then realizing that if you are to say sorry or if you were to smile, it's because you're changing you, not based on if I'm forgiven and if you smile back and if my smile makes it so then you do the dish. Whatever, like if there's an if, then it's manipulation. Vicky, that is just gold.
I remember the day, you know how you have those moments, like you know where you were standing.
Yes.
A certain thing happened in your life.
You should smell
I,
it, see it, and feel it. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
I know exactly where I was standing when God showed me that.
Mm,
It was like the biggest brain explosion for me. I just walked around the house going, "Oh my goodness, these skills are to change me. They're not to change him." So anytime I'm trying to manage his mood or
mm,
I'm trying to manage, his eating habits, his cholesterol, whatever, I am manipulating him
hmm.
because I'm going to get something in return.
Yeah. You're a
So
good wife, you're a good mom, you're
yes,
a good whatever. Yeah.
yes,
Wow.
yes, yes. So
And isn't
that,
it funny? Because that's probably, like, I would say for the most part, at least me, I guess I should speak for me and not for everybody else, but I wouldn't have put that together. It's actually kind of like what you and I were speaking about before,
yeah,
how I felt like I was helping, but what I was doing was making other people feel like they weren't empowered. If I wasn't asking someone to do something that they could very well do, but I thought, well, I'm just not gonna wake them up or I'm not gonna bother them. I'll just take care of it. It wasn't empowering them at all. Jenny Ray at our Rise event, which she did, and this just like I think I've talked about it a few times on this podcast, but I want to share it with you. I don't know if you've heard me say this before. It was so cool. So she was standing there and we were discussing this thing as well. And she was like, "Well, it's as if," and I teach group fitness, so I totally understand like lifting weights and I'm a massage therapist, so I understand the body like so well.
wow.
Anything that has to do with the body, I'm like, "Okay, cool, talk to me, I get it." She
Mhm.
says, if I had this weight in front of me and I was going to bend over and pick it up and my husband ran over and picked it up and like did the curl and then put it back down, like is that helping me? And it was like, well, no. But then she did it like 3 or 4 times. I bend over to pick it up and he picks it up, puts it down. I bend over, he picks it up and puts it down. And all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh. So not only is he telling me, or I'm telling him, whoever the one who's picking it up,
Mhm.
you're not capable.
Yeah.
I then, if I'm the one picking it up for someone else, I'm getting stronger. I'm making my skills better. I'm telling you,
Mm.
you can't do it. And you are getting weaker from not being able to practice this skill.
Wow.
And how manipulative is that to
Yes.
not allow someone the growth? We often say we need to let our kids fail. We also need to let them succeed
Yeah.
because they're not always going to fail just because I don't do it. My husband's not going to fail just because I smile at him and change me. That's not a failure on anyone's part.
Right.
That's
Uh-huh.
me getting better. It's so neat to see relationships change. And isn't it funny that it almost sounds selfish? It isn't, but it almost sounds selfish. Like I need to focus on me, but in a different way. I can change me. I can change how everybody else has an experience of me. I can change what comes out of me and the energy and the love and the happiness and everything that comes out. And that will change people naturally. Like it's
Absolutely.
not what I expect, but it can. It's just
Mm, that is so good. I love that you brought out how working on me, it can sound selfish, but I coach through the lens of the gospel. And we go back to the handbook
yeah.
because that's how we're gonna, I mean, the God who created us has given us the manual. So he's
Yeah.
telling us the steps to take, just like we get a manual in a car we buy. And we
Right.
don't really know how to work the windshield wipers or whatever. There's so many options. And it's like, we have to get it out and let me just see. Well, that's what scripture does for us. But
Mhm.
here's what blew me away. God says in his word, and he didn't have to say this. He could have just said, love others.
Mm.
But he said, love others as you love yourself.
Mhm.
And I just started thinking, if I'm not loving me and I wasn't, I'm not saying I was dissing on myself or hating on myself. I just didn't really give myself the time of day. Everything in my world was outward focused. It was all, I'm doing this for you. Now I didn't have a conscious knowing of this until
Mhm.
coaching, but I was doing all this pleasing but it was to get something back. Now,
Mhm.
I didn't know that. I wasn't
Yeah.
conscious of that. But here's what I was conscious of. I knew that I was resentful,
Mhm.
but I couldn't put my finger on why. On paper, I had every reason to be blissful.
Yeah.
And so why am I resentful? It's
Mhm.
because I was trying to draw from the wrong source.
Yeah.
So I was looking at everyone else for my happiness, and this is so exciting and so empowering. I had the key the whole time.
Yes.
I had the key. So, but what I didn't realize is that by me not taking really good care of me, that's also how I was loving other people, not taking really good care because I can't love them if I'm not filled up to pour out. So I have to be full. I've got to I've got to take really good care of me and replenish my spirit like Jesus did when it says several times that he slipped away from the crowd. Now, there were still people to heal, there were
Mhm.
still crowds to feed, and there were still people that needed to hear the gospel. But what did he do? He slipped away from the crowd. And who am I to think that I can just continue to run and not take really
Right.
good care of me and replenish? And I mean, he was God.
Yeah,
So how
right.
much more do I need to replenish my spirit so that now I can show up in life wanting everything for you, Sarah, but I don't need you to do anything for me to be okay because
Oh,
I'm making sure I'm okay.
that is so good. I was writing stuff down where I love others the way that I love me.
That's right. Yes.
And
And if I'm not loving me, I can't love you.
even if I think I am, even if no, no,
Even
no, I don't spend it. I love you better than I love myself. I don't think we can. I think
yeah,
what you were just saying is the only way to truly love others is to love me first, is to start with my own smile, is to start with how I feel. Then can I finally actually truly love others? Because otherwise I'm manipulating.
that's right.
My
And
God.
they're showing up in life wanting you to do something back.
Mm,
So let's just say that you've been I was just a doer, doing
right. Oh
something.
yeah.
Okay, but then when I hit a rough spot and in my mind, they're not reciprocating, then I don't say anything because I was a
Oh,
pleaser. I
yeah.
don't say anything at
Just gonna
all.
tuck it deep down inside and hold
Down,
on to it.
down. I am just like, I cannot believe, and self-talk.
Yeah.
And yeah, so, but 4 years later, and still growing, still learning, still digging, but 4 years later, I am better able. I'm practicing
Mm,
being this woman that can show up in our friendship wanting everything for Sarah,
yeah.
everything for you. But I don't need you to do anything for me to be okay. I get to freely love you because I have replenished myself through the source, which is I'm pointing up for those of you who may not be on YouTube. Um, I've gone to the true source for
Yeah.
my joy, my happiness, my gratitude. I'm so full, it can't help but spill over onto you. But when I'm depleted, I'm looking to everyone else to fill me up. No one's measuring up.
And they
I'm,
can't.
yeah,
They can't. That is an impossible task, isn't it?
they cannot fill me up. I mean, my husband will say the greatest thing that I have done through all of this learning is learning to make myself happy. He said, I wanted nothing more in this world than to know you were happy, but I knew I wasn't capable. He just couldn't, he's not capable because he's
Right.
not the source that can make me, he can add to, he can be the bow on the package, the icing on the cake,
Mhm.
but he cannot fill me up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And it's not even his job, really, is
it's
it?
not his job. He's
Yeah.
not capable. So
Yeah.
for me to look there, I'm just looking to the wrong source.
Yeah.
So, yes. So, anyway, all that to say, another skill that we learn in my coaching program is to receive. And I had
Mhm.
no idea, Sarah, no idea how to receive. I could
Mhm.
do anything. I mean, people would offer help, and I'd be like, oh, no, 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 I got it. I got it. I'm good. Thanks. Um, I just, I mean, I could do anything.
Mm.
I just didn't need anybody to help me,
Yeah.
including my husband. So, like, I would come in from the grocery, I might have 4 or 5 bags in my hand coming up the steps, and he'd go, "Here, I'll get that." And I'd be like, "Oh, I've got it." And like you said before, I genuinely thought
Mm.
I was helping him because
Mhm.
I'm thinking, he's been at the office all day, he's
Right.
tired. I can bring in these groceries, I'm helping. But guess
Right.
what I was doing? I was robbing him of an opportunity to show up and be my hero. And guess what else? I was robbing me of receiving his love.
Mhm.
See, I wanted him to show love through words of affirmation. That's how
Mm.
I show love.
Okay.
And I used those love languages kind of
Oh,
as
yeah.
a measuring stick and running
Okay.
around like, I'm words of affirmation. Why aren't you doing it?
Right.
Well, no one ever wants to be told how to love you. And
Right.
what God has shown me is the love languages. It's an awesome tool, but
Mhm.
it's for me to know me so that
Mm.
I can take care of me. So now guess what I do? I give myself those affirmations. I didn't, I never told myself good job. I never said, look at you, Vic, how you've grown. I never said anything like that to myself, but I sure wanted him to.
Mm.
And when I stopped looking to him to fill me up with words of affirmation, I started giving it to myself. I didn't need him to do it. The strangest thing happened. Now he does it
Wow.
because he's
That's
free,
incredible.
Sarah. He's
Yeah.
free. He's
Yeah.
not being controlled and manipulated
Yeah.
to try to fill me up, knowing he can't stand up to the weight of filling me up.
Yeah.
So
That's incredible.
I learned to fill my own,
Mhm.
replenish my own spirit. And it's through my Heavenly Father, it's through Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So go into the main source that really has the power to replenish my spirit.
Oh, I love that you said that. I love that you spoke about receiving.
Yeah.
I am I have a couple of soapboxes, and that's one of them. And you probably
Mhm.
didn't even know this about me.
I didn't.
I This time of year, this season, if you're listening sometime in the future, it's Christmas time. And
Uh-huh.
so you and I could say it together, even though we haven't rehearsed it. We know that everybody says, "'Tis better to give
Yeah.
and
Thank
receive,"
you. Yeah.
right? That's
Yeah.
always what we're taught.
Yeah.
And yet, dare I say, if everyone's giving, then no one is receiving.
Yes.
And isn't it the same side, the different sides of the same coin? Don't
Yes.
we all need to receive and also need to give? And haven't we all given a gift to someone and it was not received? And
Mhm.
how heartbreaking that is. That's not why we give the gift. But when someone doesn't receive something from our heart, it does hurt. And I know we were just talking about like, I don't have to worry about what their reaction is. So
Yeah.
then let me worry about my reaction. How do
Right.
I receive a gift? How do I receive what is being given me, whether it's from God, whether it's from a friend, from my husband? If I never receive from him,
Mhm.
then I am doing him a disservice. So this time of year, I say it's not better, one or the other. It's both.
It's
We
both.
need to be
Yes.
givers and receivers so we know what it's like to receive. I don't think we have to be quote unquote poor and needy to
Oh,
receive. And
right.
if we do, guess what? Aren't we all beggars?
That's
Aren't
right.
we all poor
Absolutely.
in
Yes.
something? And so to be a gracious receiver is absolutely incredible. I love that that's part of your program. I had no idea. That's
No,
absolutely,
that's one of the skills that we really, really work on. And I know it started for me, I realized that I've been a Christian for many, many years.
yeah.
I realized through my coaching program, having a coach come alongside me, that I did not know how to receive God's love. I I was still trying to earn it, like, and instead of, it's just a posture of our heart.
Mm,
Instead of, I want to radiate him, less of me, more of you, Lord. I don't have to earn it. It's signed,
yeah.
sealed, delivered. It's done.
Yeah.
Now I can just go live out of that overflowing of gratitude in my heart. Um, I can receive him fully. I can
Mm,
receive his love. It's not about earning anything else. It's
yeah.
fully done.
Yeah.
And then, we're talking about receiving, and I want to get it down just on a real basic level that probably all of us have in a day's time. If you're out and about, probably someone may compliment you.
Hmm.
They may say, Sarah, you got the cutest haircut. Or Sarah, I love that shirt, or whatever. Well, the old me would be like, oh, girl, TJ Maxx, 14.99,
Hmm.
or
Oh, yeah.
oh, my hair, oh, it looks terrible. It needs highlighting,
Right.
it
Yeah.
cutting,
We
you
tell
know,
you why you're wrong. Yeah. Yeah.
and I could not receive it.
Yeah.
And now, after being made aware and learning about receiving and what a gift it is to the giver when I receive, when someone gives me a compliment, even sometimes it's very vulnerable, because
Yeah.
they may go on and on about your hair or whatever. And it's vulnerable to stand there and just receive it. But what a gift.
Yeah.
And now that I
Oh,
know,
isn't that cool? Receiving is also a gift.
it's a gift to the
That's
giver.
so cool.
Yes. So receiving their compliment and taking it all in and just being so grateful that they took
Yeah.
the time to, share with you something they see in you, and
Yeah.
receive it. Just receive it. Yeah.
Wow.
It's been game changer.
Oh my gosh. So I asked for one tip and you gave the
But
most incredible smile. Like everybody can smile. Everybody can smile. Whether you make it cheesy, you can like force it and then you'll laugh about it. Smile. You talked about gratitude, showing gratitude, 3 gratitudes a day. 3 gratitudes a day. I can be thankful
mm,
to the people I love for
yeah.
3 things a day. Oh, and won't that just change everything? And then receiving, being a
Mm,
gracious receiver and allowing others to serve us, receiving a compliment, receiving love, receiving a hug, receiving whatever it is, just being a gracious receiver. Oh my gosh,
yes.
Vicki,
Mm.
thank you. for this. This has been, I never know what all's going to happen
Yeah.
in these interviews because I don't script it out. I didn't send you, you didn't send me. We were just like, let's just talk and see what happens. And these are things I'm going to, it's fun because a lot of them I feel like I already do,
Yeah.
but the way that you said them has made me think about them a little bit different. And I'm so excited to just show gratitude to my family today, to receive when they say, "Hey, mom, can I help you with this?" Or, "Sarah, can I help you with this?" Just to say, "Yes, thank you." And because I know also how I feel if I offer help to someone, I'm not doing it because I think they're weak or pathetic. I'm doing it because I love them and I just want to help. That's all I want to do. I, my husband opens a car door for me, not because I can't. He does it
Right.
because he loves me and he just wants to show me he loves me. And that's it, you know? So this
Yeah.
has been just incredible. I was actually thinking, and I wrote this down. I'm totally putting you on the spot for this. But I want to do, I think it would be incredible to do like a live in my Facebook group. I have a Facebook group. It's called Stronger Than You Think Community. Oh my gosh, Vicki, I could have you on a live.
I would love it.
It
Let's
would be
do it.
so fun. I don't know if you have a group, we could put it in there too, wherever. But oh my gosh, that would be so fun to just
Be amazing.
chat and
Yes.
just have the energy flowing. Oh my gosh, this is incredible.
These are skills that our grandmothers would have taught us if someone would have just taught them.
If they
And,
would have just realized, yeah,
and we are changing, we are women who are changing the trajectory of our families. And this gets me teared up every time for generations to come.
amen, sister.
Thinking about those we will never know will be impacted because one courageous woman decided to change their approach to relationship and life and matters of their heart.
Absolutely.
I
Oh, I
would,
believe it too. There's this song that my family and I listen to, and it starts off just a light is a light. And it
mm,
doesn't seem like it's that big, but what if it lights your home? And then that home, a whole bunch of lit homes light a city, and then that city lights the state, and that state lights the country, and that country lights and all of a sudden this world
mm,
is lit because one light
mm,
began to shine. Exactly what you said, because one woman, one human
mm,
decided, now I act because of love. I myself am going to look inside and smile so that
mm.
I am happier. And now my light is shining and it's just beautiful. Oh my gosh, Vicki.
That is gorgeous, what you just said. That's crazy pants gorgeous right there.
Oh,
Love it.
I am so grateful and so
Mm.
thankful to know you. I am so glad that our paths crossed and we sat at the same table and we looked across at each other and said, I don't know what I'm doing. Do you know what you're doing? You're like, I don't know. And then we laughed and we were there and we liked each other's hair and we were
Yes.
steaming the hurricane and we didn't even care.
Didn't
And
even
here
care.
we are now, 6 months
Here
later,
we are.
chatting and just, I feel so
Mm,
grateful to you. Thank you for sharing this time with me and for sharing your stories and what you've learned and what you do, Vicki. You are changing the world. Thank
mm.
you.
I'm receiving that down to my tippy toes.
Oh,
Thank
that
you.
makes me happy.
Thank you, Sarah.
You're
And
welcome.
everything is for us. I believe everything is for us. Even that hurricane where we had no power
Yep.
and we're showing up in our, business clothes with
And
no power, no way to do our hair, no way. And here we are,
here
six
we are.
months later. I mean, everything was for us there and everything is for us now. So
Oh,
thank you for having me. It is a
oh,
true blessing. Thank you.
oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And what I always like to say at the end of my walkie-talkies and at the end of my podcast episode is to remember I'm walking with you. Vicki,
Mm,
you said that you had a coach that stood for you. And sometimes that's what we need, isn't it? We need a coach to stand for us and to walk with us. And that's what you and I have done today with everybody who's listening. And if nobody listens, Vicki, you stood with me and I
mm.
received that. So thank you for walking with me and for standing with me.
Thank you, Sarah. Oh, I love you, girl. Thank
Love
you.
you. Have the most fantastic day, and we will talk so soon.
Take care.
All right, you too.